Hello everyone, today Hathanhvn continues to tell 5 stories about life. Please listen.
Story 176, The Red Lantern. Once upon a time, in a small village at the foot of a mountain, there was a man named Lamb. He made a living by making lanterns, famous for his bright red lanterns with delicate and meticulous patterns. Every line on his lanterns was so sharp that no one in the village could match him. But because he loved his job so much, Lamb was very strict with himself, always obsessed with completing every lantern perfectly. One day, a local official heard of Lamb's reputation and decided to come and place an order for the upcoming autumn festival. He wanted 30 bright red lanterns, each one had to be perfect to hang in the sacred temple. It was a great honor, but also an unprecedented pressure for Lamb. He stayed up all night working diligently, pouring all his heart into every stroke, every thread. But when the delivery date was near, Lamb discovered that one of the lanterns had a small crack that was almost invisible to the naked eye. Worried and hesitant, Lamb wondered whether he should tell the official about the crack. He was afraid that if he revealed it, the official would cancel the order and his reputation would be ruined. But at the same time, he couldn't lie to himself when he knew the lantern wasn't perfect. Finally, Lim decided to be honest. That day, when he delivered the lantern, he bowed his head and confessed to the official about the crack. He said, "Sir, I tried my best, but this lantern has a small crack. I can't deliver it without telling you clearly. I'll remake it if you're not satisfied." The official was silent, then walked over to the lantern and examined it. The small crack was in a corner, and you had to look very closely to see it. The official smiled, looked at Lin, and said, "Your honesty is more valuable than perfection. A craftsman who is so straightforward and sincere is more worthy of respect than someone who makes flawless lanterns." Lamb breathed a sigh of relief and felt a strange peace in his heart. From then on, his reputation for honesty spread far and wide, and people came to him not only for his beautiful lamps, but also for their trust in a craftsman who knew how to maintain professional ethics. Lesson: honesty is what helps us build trust and respect from others. Being straightforward and sincere, sometimes even in small things, can bring greater value than superficial perfection.
Story 177, The Beaumont Vineyard. In the south of France, deep in a lush valley, lies the estate of Armand Beaumont, a famous winemaker. He is wealthy and powerful, but above all, he is a cautious and discreet man. His estate is famous not only for its quality wine, but also for its meticulously tended, picturesque vineyards. Beaumont holds a party only once a year, inviting those he trusts and values most to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Every harvest season, he always calls upon Jean, a gentle and devoted farmer, although no one understands why. Jean is just an ordinary hired hand, with rough hands and a simple life, but Beaumont always says, "Jean is a man you can trust." The others are surprised, because among so many talented people, Beaumont still holds this simple man in high regard. One year, a sudden downpour of rains came just in time for harvest, threatening the entire vineyard. It rained heavily all night, and Beaumont worried that this year's crop might be ruined. But the next morning, when he arrived at the vineyard, he found Jean and a few of his friends there before dawn, working hard to save the vines from being flooded. They built drainage ditches and lined the base of the vines with leaves to keep them from getting soaked. Thanks to their efforts, the vineyard was saved from disaster, and the harvest was a great success. When he asked Jean why he had helped him so devotedly, Jean replied, "Sir, you have always trusted me, treated me as a friend. Not just a worker, I have always considered it my duty and my honor." After that event, Mr. Beaumont realized that his success was not only due to the production of high-quality wines, but also due to the lasting relationships he had built. It is not money, but sincerity and trust that helps him connect with loyal and dedicated people like Jean. Lesson: building quality relationships, based on trust and respect, will bring extraordinary strength in difficult times. Friends, healthy relationships, are not only a support, but also the key to getting further in life.
Story 178, Painting in the Night. In a small town in Italy, there was a young artist named Luca who lived and worked in an old attic, under the dim light of the old street lamps. Luca had natural talent, but he always doubted himself, feeling that his paintings were not good enough to stand side by side with the famous paintings hanging in the big museums. Every time he finished a painting, he hid it away, afraid that people would criticize it. Every night, Luca often walked around the square, where other artists sold their paintings and works. He longed for the day that everyone would admire his paintings, but the fear of failure kept him from stepping out of his comfort zone. The townspeople began to call him the artist in the dark, a person whose talent was rumored, but no one had ever seen. One night, while Luca was sitting by the window painting, there was a knock on the door. It was Maria, a famous old artist in the area, who was once called the Master of Painting. She had heard about Luca and his paintings for a long time, but had never seen them. Maria smiled and said, "Young man, I want to see your paintings." Luca hesitated, but under her determined gaze, he led her into the room where his paintings were hidden. As Maria admired each painting, each stroke filled with emotion and depth, she looked at Luca with emotion and said, "Do you know how many people these paintings can touch? If you don't believe in your talent, how can others see the value in it?" Those words touched Luca deeply. He realized that the fear of failure had robbed him of the opportunity to express himself, and if he didn't dare to believe in himself, no one could do it for him. That night, Luca decided to take the paintings to the square. As the first rays of the morning sun shone down, the townspeople marveled at the paintings they had never seen before. Luca's fame quickly spread, and his paintings became popular, with collectors even coming from big cities to buy his paintings. From then on, Luca no longer hid in the shadows. He understood that self-confidence was the first step to having others believe in him. Lesson: self-confidence is the key to revealing your true potential. If you don't dare to believe in yourself, no one will be able to see your talent. Dare to step into the light, and give yourself a chance to shine.
Story 179, The Man on the Olive Hill. In a small village in southern Italy, among the lush green olive fields stretching out under the bright yellow sunlight, there lived a man named Enzo. All his life, Enzo did only one thing: take care of his family's olive fields. He had inherited the fields from his father, just as his father had inherited them from his grandfather. This was his family's legacy, and for Enzo, it was his whole life. Every morning, Enzo woke up at dawn, spending the whole day meticulously taking care of each olive tree. The rough, sturdy olive trees with deep roots firmly attached to the ground had witnessed many generations of people in his family. But Enzo always carried an unspoken sadness, because his son, Marco, did not want to continue growing olives but wanted to pursue a bustling life in the city. One day, Marco returned to the village to visit his father. Enzo led Marco up the hill, standing in the middle of an olive field under the vast sky. He said to Marco, "Look at these olive trees, they were here before you were born. And they will be here after I am gone. They are the testimony of time, each layer of bark represents the years we have lost." Marco, not understanding what his father meant, just smiled. "Father, I love this field, but I cannot spend my whole life here, repeating the same days. I want to live a life of my own." Enzo was silent, then he picked up an olive branch in his hand and gave it to Marco. You know, each olive takes a year to grow. They do not rush, but every moment they live is meaningful. Because they know that time will not return. You can live your own life, but remember that time is like this olive tree, it cannot be retrieved. Live wisely, because when time passes, it will never come back. Marco looked at his father, as if he had just understood something profound. He realized that the time his father spent his life tending the olive groves was not wasted, but every second and minute was a testament to his love and devotion to simple but lasting values. The next day, Marco returned to the city, but he carried an olive branch in his pocket, as a reminder of his father's words. He knew that no matter where he went or what he did, he would use his time wisely, not wasting it on meaningless things. Lesson: time past cannot be returned, like an olive tree growing over the years. Every moment is precious and should not be wasted. Live fully and wisely, because time is a priceless gift that life gives. Once lost, it will never return.
Story 180, Layla's Shawl. In the vast desert of Western Asia, in a small town on the Silk Road, there lived a weaver named Layla. She was famous throughout the region for her beautiful, vibrant shawls, with intricate patterns, dyed with precious natural colors. Layla was a persistent person. All her life she believed in stability and tradition, following the weaving method her mother taught her, never changing. To her, such a life was peaceful and happy. But then one day, a caravan of merchants from faraway lands came to the town. They brought not only goods, but also new fashion styles, with different colors and patterns. Everyone in the town was attracted to this novelty, and Layla's shawls gradually lost their popularity. Layla was heartbroken and angry. She did not understand why people preferred something new instead of her traditional scarves. She decided to seek advice from her old friend, a sage named Hakim, who lived on the edge of town. Hakim listened to her, then smiled and said, "Layla, the Silk Road not only brought goods, but also changes. Just like the sands in the desert are always shifting, no one can stop time or new trends. Instead of fighting it, why don't you try to see change as an opportunity to learn and create?" Layla, still skeptical, but because of her trust in Hakim, decided to try the change. She spent months researching new styles, learning how to dye unusual colors and creating new patterns based on images from other lands. Every day, she combined tradition with modernity, creating scarves that were both characteristic of her land and uniquely innovative. Gradually, Layla's scarves became more famous than ever. Not only the townspeople, but also merchants from far away came to buy her scarves. Layla realized that, thanks to change, she had found a new path, a limitless creativity. Finally, Layla understood that change is not something to be afraid of, but an opportunity to rise. She became a person who not only holds on to tradition, but also knows how to transform and adapt to the times. Lesson: change is inevitable in life, like the constantly shifting sands of the desert. Instead of resisting it, embrace it and seek opportunities from change. Adaptability and creativity will help us grow and go further in any situation.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye and see you in the next short stories about life.